My parents' house never really felt like a parent's house, not in the normal way, at least. My dad traveled for work constantly, and my mom was always out with friends or staying over my aunt's house or doing something else where she would come home late or not at all. I know that sounds kind of messed up, but it was just the reality. It was not like they abandoned me or anything. It was more like they were always busy and always somewhere else. So from the time I was like 16 and up, I basically lived alone. I ate dinner alone most nights. I watched TV alone. I would be the only person in the house for an entire weekend sometimes. I am an only child, and I think that's because my parents realized after having me how much they valued their own freedom. So in that regard, I did suffer, which is something I feel more now as an adult. When I was younger, I used to love it because it felt like freedom. Having such a big place to myself, I could do whatever I wanted without my parents breathing down my neck. And I did not have to share it with siblings. I could bring friends over and play games late. I could talk to girls on the phone without being embarrassed. It felt like having my own home without paying for it. And even when I turned 19 and started going to a nearby college, nothing changed. If anything, it got even more like that. My mom and dad were gone or out more, and I was basically just holding it down at home. I knew every noise that house made too. That part matters because it wasn't one of those houses where every creak freaked you out. It was an older but larger house, and it had its usual sounds. I always just said the damn place had character. So this happened on a night where I knew for a fact I was going to be alone. My dad was out of town for work, and my mom had been talking all week about how she was staying at my aunt's because they were having some big family thing the next day, and she did not want to drive back late. I remember her telling me it is just you tonight, and I honestly did not even care that was normal. I told her that she didn't even have to tell me that. I made food, I watched TV, I did the usual. At around 11 o'clock, I went upstairs to my room and started watching YouTube videos in bed, something I do some nights for hours. My room was at the end of the hallway, upstairs. At the top of the stairs, you would have a small landing, and then to the right was my parents' room, and further down the hallway was the bathroom, the linen closet, and then my room at the end. I had my door open because my parents told me to keep doors open at night, more as a staying alert and listening for intruders type of thing. But I also liked hearing the house a little like background noise. It made the whole being alone thing feel less intense. I eventually started getting tired, so I shut my laptop and just laid there scrolling on my phone. So I'm going to just say that probably an hour passed from the moment I shut my laptop to when my phone rang. It said no caller ID on the screen. That was the first time I'd ever received a no caller ID phone call. I stared at it for a second. To be receiving that late at night was sketchy as hell. I ignored it, but it rang again right after, still saying no call or ID. That is what made me answer. I figured if it was someone important, they would call twice, plus it asked just a phone call, worst case scenario. I hang up. So I picked up, and at first there was no noise. I got nervous that it was one of those scam calls that calls to see if a number is active to add it to some call center database. But then I started hearing something faint, and it took my brain a second to process what it even was. It sounded like a TV playing in the background. And what was weird was that I could also faintly hear my own TV downstairs through the door. because earlier I guess I left it on in the living room. I didn't have it on loud, just on low volume as background noise, so hearing TV audio on the phone instantly made my stomach tighten. I said hello a second time to once again. No response, just the TV sound like whoever was on the other end wasn't even trying to speak, it was just there. Then I realized something that made me sit up in bed instantly. The TV noise I was hearing through the phone wasn't random. It matched my TV downstairs like perfectly. It was not delayed, it was the exact same audio at the exact same moments like it was sensed. That S when I got this cold feeling down my spine, because there's only one way that makes sense that would mean whoever was on the phone could hear my TV in real time, as in they were inside my house downstairs. I tried to force a normal explanation, like it was a friend standing outside one of my windows downstairs, trying to trick me, or maybe the call was somehow glitching and picking up on my microphone audio. That can happen. But the more I listened, the more I realized that didn't make sense. It sounded like someone was calling me while standing somewhere in my living room. I got up and walked to my bedroom door and listened, and I was 1,000,000% sure now that the audio on the phone was syncing to the TV. In hindsight, this was dumb, but I screamed out, "Who's down there?" Because in the back of my mind I thought for sure I knew it was a friend or family member pulling something. And then the line went dead, they hung up. By this point, my mouth went completely dry. I couldn't even call the number back because it was an anonymous call. I walked out into the hallway towards the stairs, and I looked down. I still heard the TV on in the living room, and then a creak. It sounded like the wood floor cracking from the pressure of a person. But if that didn't confirm things, the moment I heard someone clearing their throat downstairs, that S, when everything instantly became 10 times more real. I could no longer lean on the glitching phone theory, even though deep down I already knew that was BS. Anyway, I went to my room and quietly closed and locked the door. What if my dad was testing me, seeing how I'd react in a home intrusion situation, or maybe my Uncle T? So I called my dad, but he did not pick up. He may have already been asleep. It was like 11:30, so I called again and again, but no answer. I tried my luck with Uncle T, and he picked up on the second ring. I could tell he was in bed. He asked why I was calling, and I prefaced the phone call, telling him this might sound crazy, and then dropped the bomb and asked if he was downstairs. I remember vividly his exact response and tone as he said, "Steve, what the hell are you talking about?" When I elaborated, he told me that's definitely something his brother would do. His brother, aka my dad, while we were on the phone, my phone started vibrating. I looked at the screen, and it was the no-caller ID on the screen again. I begged my Uncle T to stay on the line real quick. I was putting him on hold as I picked up. He said, "Okay." So I picked up the other call. As I said hello, there was the same silence. This time, I didn't hear the TV sounds on the other end. What did that mean? It seemed they had the phone on speaker, because I could hear their footsteps. They were moving, and the footsteps were matching the footsteps I suddenly started hearing outside of my bedroom. I prayed with all my heart. This was my dad messing with me. Then my doorknob jiggled, and whoever was on the other side tried pushing the door. Thank God, it was an old heavy door with an old heavy lock. The sound still sensed with what I was hearing on the phone. Whoever was on the other side of the door knocked. I had the sudden thought to merge the two calls, and when I did, I yelled into the phone for my Uncle T say it es not my dad get here now. I also yelled that whoever was in the house was also on the phone with us. My uncle seemed to wake up from this, and he started yelling into the phone things like, "I'm coming, you cocksucker." The no-caller ID caller hung up the phone, and I heard footsteps move away from the door. This all but confirmed it was in fact not my dad. My uncle told me to stay in the bedroom. He was on his way. I wasn't a little kid, but I wasn't some big brolic man. Either I was some skinny 19-year-old. My uncle knew I was in danger. He started heading over to the house. We lived in the same town at the time. But that 7 minutes he took to get to the house was the longest 5 years I'd ever experienced. I heard the familiar voice of my uncle screaming downstairs finally. So I rushed out of the room, and downstairs having him there made everything feel better. We called the cops together while searching around the house for stolen items. The TV in the living room was still on before the cops got to the house. We found the kitchen window to be fully open enough for someone to crawl through. That info was of course relayed to the police, who when they got there did what I imagined to be a standard police search of the premises. They asked us to lead them around the house, but from behind them we cleared the whole house, and whoever was in there initially was no longer there. After the cops were done, they asked to see the no-caller ID calls in my recent calls. I showed them, and one of the officers told us that even though it says no caller ID, sometimes they can still request records and trace it from where it came. They said it could take a few days, but they'd get back to us. My uncle stayed over that night, which made me feel safer. We kept every light on like little kids. A few days later, one of the officers called me back. Surprisingly, the number was traced back to someone I actually knew. It was an old acquaintance from high school, not a friend or enemy, but someone who had my number and address and such. I hadn't seen him in years. The cops asked if I wanted to come with them while they questioned him, so my uncle and I went, since he was there on the scene with me originally. When the guy's dad answered the door and saw the police, he instantly called his son down without question. I could see it in his son's face that he was nervous. The officer and I asked him straight up if he made those calls. He immediately said no. Then he said his phone had been stolen a few days ago. He claimed he lost it at a party and never got it back. The cop asked why he didn't report it stolen. He just shrugged it off and said he was going to get a new one anyway. The cop told him they'd follow up if needed, and that was basically it. His dad just stood there the whole time watching. But he weirdly didn't say anything. There was no big gotcha moment or arrest or anything that night. I couldn't stop thinking about it, the nervous look on his face when he came to the door. Was it a look of guilt or a natural look anyone would have when being greeted with police on your front doorstep? If it really was a stolen phone, that means someone stole his phone specifically to call me and break into my parents' house. And that's without a doubt scarier than if it was him. I never found out who was really in that house that night. But I know one thing for sure. They weren't supposed to be there. And sometimes not knowing the truth is far more terrifying than knowing it.